The Supreme Court case Ian and I were assigned is the United States versus Lopez case, which happened in 1995. Some background on the case. United States versus Lopez was the first Supreme Court case to happen since the New Deal was signed in 1933. The New Deal limited Congress's power under the Commerce Clause. The incident took place on March 10th, 1992, when Alfonso Lopez carried a concealed pistol into Edison High School in San Antonio, Texas. Lopez was accused of violating the Gun-Free School Zones Act of 1990, but claimed that Congress cannot legislate control over the public school district. His claim was denied and Lopez was tried and convicted, but after appealing to the Fifth Circuit of Appeals, claiming the act exceeded Congress's ability to legislate under the Commerce Clause, the Fifth Circuit overturned the conviction and the government petitioned for the case to be reviewed by the Supreme Court. Some constitutional questions and issues that we need to think about. Is the Guns-Free School Zones Act of 1990 really constitutional? Does Congress actually have the authority to regulate guns under the Commerce Clause? And does the commerce power of Congress extend to activities that have no apparent connection to interstate commerce? For a class discussion, we leave you with these questions. Do you think there will ever be a time when the U.S. feels a need for guns in school? If so, what would cause a need for guns to be in schools? And would the U.S. government allow licensed carriers to bring guns on campus? What restrictions would there be? We'd love to hear your answers, so comment them below. Some possible outcomes of the court's decision. The court could have ruled that the Guns-Free School Zone Act of 1990 was constitutional, or they could have ruled that it wasn't constitutional. And also, Congress could have been overstepping into state commerce with the creation of this act, so the Supreme Court will rule whether or not they overstepped or if they stayed within their boundaries of the Commerce Clause. The case ruling. The Supreme Court came to a decision on April 26, 1995, and ruled 5-4 that the Gun-Free School Zones Act of 1990 was actually unconstitutional, which is the answer to question 1. The Commerce Clause gives Congress the power to make laws relating to foreign trade and commerce. They are also authorized to commerce among the various states. However, if not explicitly authorized in the Constitution, then Congress acts unconstitutionally and is subject to the Supreme Court ruling it as unconstitutional. So whatever Congress does that is not stated directly in the Constitution is fair game for the Supreme Court to declare as unconstitutional, which is the answer to question 2 and 3 as well.
Reason for the decision. U.S. Congress exceeded its authority under the Commerce Clause. It basically ruled that it is unconstitutional and an abuse of power for the government to enforce this law under the Commerce Clause. Impact of the ruling. It was the first case since 1937 where Congress exceeded its power to legislate under the Commerce Clause. It preserved the system of federalism, which delegates certain powers to the states and certain powers to the central government. It forced Congress to rewrite Gun-Free School Zones Act of 1990, and it now uses interstate commerce as justification for more federal gun laws. One similar case is Garcia versus San Antonio Metropolitan Transit Authority. Congress had power under the Commerce Clause to defend the Labor Standards Act. The ruling was opposite of U.S. versus Lopez, but it still discusses a similar topic of the commerce, and it was a 5-4 ruling. Another similar case was Wickard versus Filburn. Filburn was a farmer in Idaho who harvested too much wheat and kept the excess wheat for himself in an attempt to not disobey the Agricultural Adjustment Act of 1938. And that act allowed him to harvest and sell his wheat. He was found guilty by unanimous decision by the court, that he disobeyed the law by harvesting too much wheat, even though he didn't sell that over-harvested wheat. The court found that the Commerce Clause gives Congress power to regulate the prices in the industry. A meme to remember the U.S. versus Lopez case. We thought that this meme kind of shows that the Commerce Clause kind of came back to